director of music. For the director of music. 제주든, 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 제주든. Watch one's ways. Watch one's ways. Watch one's ways. I will watch my 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 ways. Keep one's tongue from sin. Keep one's tongue from sin. I will keep my tongue from sin. I will keep my tongue from sin. Tongue, tongue, tongue. Put a muzzle on one's mouth. Put a muzzle on one's mouth. I will put a muzzle on my mouth. I will put a muzzle on my mouth. Muzzle, 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 muzzle. In the presence of, in the presence of, in the presence of, in the presence of, in the presence of the wicked, in the presence of the wicked, the wicked, the wicked. Remain silent, remain silent, remain silent. I remained utterly silent. I remained utterly silent. Utterly, utterly, utterly silent, utterly silent, utterly silent. Anguish, anguish. My anguish increased. My anguish increased. My anguish increased. Increase, increase, increased, increased. Grow hot within summer. Grow hot within summer. Grow hot within summer. My heart grew hot within me. My heart grew hot within me. Meditate, 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 meditate. While I meditated, the fire burned. While I meditated, the fire burned. Burn, 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 burned, burnt. Burn, burn. Life sand, life sand. Show me, Lord, my life's end. Show me, Lord, my life's end. The number of Wednesdays. The number of my ones. The number of Wednesdays. The number of my days. Fleeting, 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 fleeting. Let me know how fleeting my life is. Let me know how fleeting my life is. Mere. Let me know how fleeting my life is. Mere, a mere handbreadth. A mere handbreadth. A mere handbreadth. 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 Span. 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 The span of my ears. The span of my ears. Span. The span of my ears. As nothing before summer. As nothing before summer. As nothing before summer. The span of my ears is as nothing before you. The span of my ears is as nothing before you. Be but a breath. Be but a breath. Everyone is but a breath. Everyone is but a breath. Everyone is but a breath. Secure. 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 Those who seem secure. Those who seem secure. Those who seem secure. Those who seem secure. Secure. Surely. 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 Go around. Go around. Go around. Everyone goes around like a mere phantom. Phantom. A mere phantom. Phantom. A mere 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 phantom. In vain. In vain. In vain. In vain. They rush about. In vain they rush about. Rush about. Rush about. Rush about. Rush about. Hip hop. hip up, hip up, hipping up wealth, hipping up wealth, 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 without knowing whose it will finally be, without knowing whose it will finally be, whose it will be finally be. Look for, look for, what do I look for? What do I look for? Hope, hope. My hope is in you. 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 Save someone from. Save someone from. Save me from all my transgressions. Save me from all my transgressions. Transgression, 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 transgressions, 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 transgression, transgressions, scorn, scorn, the scorn of others, the scorn of others, make someone the scorn of others, make someone the scorn of others. Do not make me the scorn of others. Do not make me the scorn of others. Fool, 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 fool. Open one's mouth. Open one's mouth. Open one's mouth. Open one's mouth. I would not open my mouth. I would not open my mouth. I would not open my mouth. Be the one who has done this. Be the one who has done this. Be the one who has done this. You are the one who has done this. You are the one who has done this. You are the one who has done this. Remove. 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 Remove your scourge from me. Remove your scourge from me. Scourge, 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 scourge. Be overcome by. Be overcome by. I am overcome by the blow of your hand. I am overcome by the blow of your hand. Blow, blow, the blow of your hand. The blow of your hand. The blow of your hand. Rebuke. 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 When you rebuke anyone for their sin. When you rebuke anyone for their sin. Discipline. 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 Consume. 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 You consume their words like a moth. You consume their words like a moth. You consume their words like a moth. 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 Here one's prayer. Here one's prayer. Here one's prayer. Hear my prayer, Lord. 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 Listen to one's cry for help. Listen to one's cry for help. Listen to one's cry for help. Listen to my cry for help. Listen to my cry for help. Listen to my cry for help. Cry for help. Be deaf too. Do not be deaf to my weeping. Do not be deaf to my weeping. Deaf, 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 deaf. Weeping, 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 weeping. Dwell, 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 dwell. I dwell with you as a foreigner. As a foreigner. I dwell with you as a foreigner. I dwell with you as a foreigner. Foreigner, 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 foreigner. Stranger, stranger. A stranger, as all my ancestors were. A stranger, as all my ancestors were. Ancestor, ancestors. Look away from, look away from me. Look away from me, look away from me, look away from me, look away from me, look away from me. Enjoy life again. 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 That I may enjoy life again. Depart, 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 depart. Before I depart, before I depart, before I depart, be no more, be no more, be no more. Before I depart and am no more. Before I depart and am no more. Watch my eyes, watch my ways. Keep my tongue from sin, keep my tongue from sin. From muzzle of my mouth, from muzzle of my mouth. Remain utterly silent, remain utterly silent. My anguish increased, my anguish increased. My heart grew hot within me, my life's end, the number of my days. A mere handbreadth, everyone is but a breath, a mere phantom, in vain. Hip up withers, hip up withers. My hope is in you, my hope is in you. The scorn of fools, the scorn of fools. Remove your scourge from me, remove your scourge from me. Be overcome by, cry for help. Be doubtful, dwell as foreigner, dwell as foreigner. Look away from me, look away from me. Be no more. For the director of music, for Zedidin, a Psalm of David. For Zedidin, a Psalm of David. I said, I will watch my ways and keep my tongue from sin. I said, I will watch my ways and keep my tongue from sin. I will put a muzzle on my mouth while in the presence of the wicked. So I remained utterly silent, not even saying anything good. So I remained utterly silent, not even saying anything good. But my anguish increased. But my anguish increased. My heart grew hot within me. My heart grew hot within me. While I meditated, the fire burned. Then I spoke with my tongue. Show me, Lord, my life's end and the number of my days. Show me, Lord, my life's end and the number of my days. Let me know how fleeting my life is. Let me know how fleeting my life. You have made my days a mere handbreadth. The span of my years is as nothing before you. The span of my years is as nothing before you. Everyone is but a breath, and even those who seem secure, surely everyone goes around like a mere phantom. Surely everyone goes around like a mere phantom. In vain, they rush about, heaping up wares, without knowing whose it will finally be. Whose it will finally be. But now, Lord, what do I look for? But now, Lord, what do I look for? My hope is in you. My hope is in you. Save me from all my transgressions. Save me from all my transgressions. Transgressions. Do not make me the scorn of fools. I was silent. I would not open my mouth, for you are the one who has done this. I was silent. I would not open my mouth, for you are the one who has done this. Remove your scourge from me. Remove your scourge from me. I am overcome by the blow of your hand. I am overcome by the blow of your hand. When you rebuke and discipline anyone for their sin, You consume their wares like a moth. Surely everyone is but a brass. Surely everyone is but a brass. Hear my prayer, Lord. Listen to my cry for help. Hear my prayer, Lord. Listen to my cry for help. Do not be deaf to my weeping. Do not be deaf to my weeping. I dwell with you as a foreigner, a stranger, as all my ancestors were, or as all my ancestors were. Look away from me. Look away from me, that I may enjoy life again before I depart, and am no more. Before I depart, and am no more. Temptation. Temptation. The temptation of fear. The temptation of fear. Resist temptation. Resist temptation. Give in to temptation. Resist temptation. Abraham gave in to the temptation to protect himself through deception. Instinct. 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 The instinct for self-preservation. Survivor instinct. Acton instinct. Acton instinct. Abraham's instinct for self-preservation became stronger than his trust in God. Abraham's instinct for self-preservation, 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 self-preservation becomes sinful when it causes us to harm others and distrust God. Famine, 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 a severe famine, a severe famine, suffer from famine, suffer from famine. A severe famine drove Abraham to Egypt. A severe famine drove Abraham to Egypt. Sojourn, 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 sojourn in Egypt. Sojourn in Egypt. Sojourn in Egypt, a temporary sojourn. Abraham went down to Egypt to sojourn there. Abraham went down to Egypt to sojourn there. Preserve, 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 preserve one's life. Preserve one's life. Preserve the covenant line. Preserve the covenant line. Abraham tried to preserve his life through a human scheme. Abraham tried to preserve his life through a human scheme. On your account, on your account, on your account, on your account, on your account. My life may be preserved on your account. My life may be preserved on your account. Afflict, afflict, be afflicted with the disease. Be afflicted with the disease. Be afflicted with the disease. Afflict someone with the plagues. The Lord afflicted Pharaoh and his household with the severe plagues. Plagues, plagues, plague, plagues, plague, plagues, a severe plague, a severe plague, a severe plague. Be plagued by fear, be plagued by fear. The plagues reveal God's covenant protection of Sarai. Summon, 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 summon. Pharaoh summoned Abraham and confronted him. Pharaoh summoned Abraham and confronted him. Chilling, chilling, chilling fever, chilling fever, a chilling fever, a chilling fever, a chilling fever, a chilling warning, a chilling warning. The unfamiliar land filled Abraham with a chilling fear, anxiety, anxiety, anxiety for survivor. Anxiety for survivor. Anxiety for survivor. Overcome anxiety. Be filled with anxiety. Be filled with anxiety. Anxiety for survivor. Clouded Abraham's spiritual judgment. Abraham's spiritual judgment. Pagan. 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 A pagan land. A pagan land. Pagan worship. Abraham feared the power of pagan kingdom more than the He trusted God. Existential, 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 existential threat, an existential threat, an existential crisis. Aaron faced what he believed to be an existential threat. Existential threat. Cowardly, 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 cowardly. A cowardly request, a cowardly compromise. Abraham made a cowardly request to his wife. Deception, deception, deception. An act of deception, an act of deception. Trust in one's own deception, trust in one's own deception. Abraham relied on deception instead of the promise of God. The promise of God. Distort, distort, distort the truth, distort the truth, distort the truth, distorted view, a distorted view. Abraham distorted the truth by presenting his wife merely as his sister. Abraham distorted the truth by presenting his wife merely as his wife. Subtle, 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 a subtle lie, a subtle temptation, a subtle temptation. Fear often leads believers into subtle forms of compromise. Subtle forms of compromise. Feeble, 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 a feeble human scheme, a feeble human scheme, a feeble attempt, a feeble attempt. Abraham placed his confidence in a feeble human scheme, in a feeble human scheme, 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 scheme. His scheme appeared wise, but it endangered the covenant promise. But it endangered the covenant promise. But it endangered the covenant promise. Ancient Near East, ancient Near East, ancient Near East, ancient Near East, ancient Near East. Sojourner were socially vulnerable in the ancient Near East. Sojourner, 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 sojourner. As a sojourner, Abraham lacked the protection enjoyed by native citizens. Vulnerable, 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 social vulnerable, socially vulnerable, vulnerable to exploitation. Foreigners without legal protection were especially vulnerable. Exploitation, 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 economic exploitation, economic exploitation, vulnerable to exploitation. Half foreigners often subjected vulnerable strangers to exploitation. Perceive, perceive, perceive danger, perceive, perceive danger, perceive danger. Spiritual perception, spiritual perception. Everyone perceives the danger clearly, but failed to perceive God's protection. To perceive God's protection, but failed to perceive God's protection. Obscure, 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 obscure. His knowledge of the danger obscured his vision of God. His knowledge of the danger obscured his vision of God. Fortified, fortified, fortified cities, fortified cities, fortified cities, a fortified wall, a fortified wall. The Israelites feared the giant and the fortified cities of Canaan. Discouragement, 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 discouragement. Fall into discouragement, fall into discouragement, overcome discouragement. Fear led the Israelites into discouragement and unbelief. Fear led the Israelites into discouragement and unbelief. Covenant, 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 God's covenant, God's covenant, covenant promise, God's covenant, God's covenant promise, covenant promise, covenant faithfulness, covenant faithfulness. God remained faithful to his covenant despite Abraham's failure, despite Abraham's failure, despite Abraham's failure. Covenantal, 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 covenantal protection, covenantal protection, covenantal faithfulness, covenantal faithfulness, covenantal hands, covenantal hands. Sarai's deliverance reveals against covenantal faithfulness, covenant line, covenant line, covenant line, covenant line. Aaron's deception placed the covenant line in grave danger, in grave danger, in grave danger, in grave danger, in grave danger. Abraham's deception placed the covenant line in grave danger. Redemptive history, redemptive history, redemptive history, redemptive history, redemptive history. Sarai occupied a crucial place in redemptive history. In redemptive history, offspring of promise, offspring of promise, offspring of promise, offspring of promise. Sarai was appointed to bear the offspring of promise. Sarai was appointed to bear the offspring of promise. Vessel, vessel, a vessel of grace, a vessel of the covenant promise, a vessel of the covenant promise. Sarai was a precious vessel through whom God would fulfill his promise. Sever, sever, sever the covenant line, sever the covenant line, sever a relationship, sever relationship, sever a relationship. Abraham's action could have severed the covenant line, the covenant line. Deadly, deadly, a deadly offense, a deadly offense, a deadly temptation. His deception was not a minor mistake, but a deadly spiritual offense, deadly spiritual offense, deadly spiritual offense, 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 offense. Distrusting God's promise is a serious spiritual offense. Distrusting God's promise is a serious spiritual offense. Sovereignty, 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 the sovereignty of God, the sovereignty over life. The sovereignty over Abraham's life belonged to God, not to human deception. The sovereignty over God's life belonged to God, not to human deception. The Lord of hosts, the Lord of hosts, the Lord of hosts, the Lord of hosts. Abraham's life belonged to the Lord of hosts. Abraham's life belonged to the Lord of hosts. Compromise, 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 compromise. Make a compromise. Make a compromise. Moral compromise. Moral compromise. Moral compromise. Moral compromise. Compromise one's face. Compromise one's face. Fear tempted Abraham to compromise his faith and integrity. Fear tempted Abraham to compromise his faith and integrity. 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 Believers are called to maintain integrity, even honesty is costly. Believers are called to maintain integrity, even when honesty is costly. Manipulate, 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 manipulate circumstance, manipulate the circumstance, manipulate another person, manipulate another person. Everyone tried to manipulate the circumstances instead of trusting God. Abraham tried to manipulate the circumstance instead of trusting God. Mechanism of self-defense. Mechanism of self-defense. Mechanism of self-defense. Fear immediately activated Abraham's human mechanism of self-defense. Human mechanism of self-defense. Paralyze, 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 paralyze one's reason. Paralyze one's reason. Paralyze one's reason. Paralyze one's reason. Be paralyzed by fear. Be paralyzed by fear. Fear can paralyze our reason and weaken our faith. Fear can paralyze our reason and weaken our faith. Captive, captive, captive. Holy Simon, captive. Be held captive by fear. Be held captive by fear. A small lie may eventually hold us captive. A small lie may eventually hold us captive. Crossroads, 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 crossroads. Stand at a crossroads. Stand at a crossroads. A spiritual crossroads. A spiritual crossroads. Abraham stood at the crossroads between faith and self-protection. Faith and self-protection. Abraham stood at the crossroad between faith and self-protection. Unshakable, 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 unshakable promise, unshakable faith. Our security rests upon the unshakable promise of God. 4 feet, 4 feet, 4 feet, 4 feet an inheritance, 4 feet an inheritance, 4 feet an opportunity. Abraham dearly forfeited the legacy of faith for the sake of temporary safety. Legacy, 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 a legacy of faith, a legacy of faith, a legacy of faith. Live a spiritual legacy. Live a spiritual legacy. God intended Abraham to leave a legacy of faith to future generations. God intended Abraham to leave a legacy of faith to future generations. Outweigh, 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 outweigh. The fear of death outweighed Abraham's confidence in God's promise. The fear of death outweighed Abraham's confidence in God's promise. Bridegroom, 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 bridegroom. Christ is true bridegroom who gave his life for his bride. Christ is the true bridegroom who gives his life for his bride. The church, his bride. The church, his bride. Christ sacrificed himself to save the church, his bride. Christ sacrificed himself to save the church, his bride. Fulfill the covenant. The one who fulfills the covenant. The one who fulfills the covenant. Covenant fulfillment. Jesus Christ is the one who fulfills every covenant promise of God. Jesus Christ is the one who fulfills every covenant promise of God willingly. Willingly. Christ willingly gave his life for his people. Christ willingly gave his life for his people. In our place. In our place. In our place. In our place. Christ died in our place and bore the judgment we deserve. Christ died in our place and bore the judgment we deserved. Sacrifice. 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 The perfect sacrifice of Christ. Sacrificial love. Abraham sacrificed Sarai for his own safety, but Christ sacrificed himself for his bride. Aaron sacrificed, sorry, for his own safety, but Christ sacrificed himself for his bride. Radiant, radiant love, radiant glory, radiant glory. The radiant love of Christ shines against the dark background of Abraham's failure. The radiant love of Christ shines against the dark background of Abraham's failure. Or the more brilliant, oh, the more brilliant. Christ's faithfulness shines all the more brilliantly when compared with human failure. Upright spirit, upright spirit. Lord, give me an upright spirit that refuses dishonest compromise. Refuses dishonest compromise. Mighty hand and outstretched arm. Mighty hand and outstretched arm. Mighty hand and outstretched arm. Our life and security rest in God's mighty hand and outstretched arm. Our life and security rest in God's mighty hand and outstretched arm. Wholehearted, 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 wholehearted trust, wholehearted trust. Confess wholeheartedly. Confess wholeheartedly. God calls us to wholehearted trust in His promise. Raising waves, raising waves, raising waves. Faith looks to Christ amid the raising waves of fear. Faith looks to Christ amid the raising waves of fear. The Prince of Peace, the Prince of Peace, the Prince of Peace, the Prince of Peace, the Prince of Peace. Jesus Christ is the Prince of Peace who calms our fearful hearts. Jesus Christ is the Prince of Peace who calms our fearful hearts. Neither slumber nor sleep. Neither slumber nor sleep. Neither slumber nor sleep. The God who keeps His covenant neither slumbers nor sleeps. The God who keeps His covenant neither slumbers nor sleeps. Silenced, 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 silenced. Protection, 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 protection. Coward, coward, cowardly, cowardly. Scheme, 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 scheme. Threat, 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 threat. Dazzling, 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 dazzling. Immediately, 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 immediately. Capture one's attention, capture one's attention, capture one's attention, capture one's attention. Supreme ruler, ruler, supreme ruler. Surrender, 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 surrender. Exceedingly wealthy, exceedingly wealthy, exceedingly wealthy. Abundance, 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 abundance. Silent lament, silent lament, silent lament, silent lament. Shattered dignity, shattered dignity, shattered dignity. Bedchamber, 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 bedchamber. Spiritual poverty, spiritual poverty, spiritual poverty, spiritual poverty. Moral bankruptcy, bankruptcy. Moral bankruptcy, moral bankruptcy. In stark contrast, in stark contrast to, in stark contrast to, self-centered, self-centered, self-centered. Physical safety, physical safety, physical safety. Material compensation, material compensation, material compensation. Covenant partner, covenant partner, covenant partner, covenant partner, fellow servant, fellow servant, fellow servant, sacrifice, 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 spiritual tragedy, spiritual tragedy, spiritual tragedy, spiritual compromise one's face, compromise one's face, trouble, troubled conscience, troubled conscience, troubled conscience, indelible, 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 shame, indelible shame, indelible shame, indelible shame, indelible shame. In stark contrast to, in Abraham material abundance, stood in stark contrast to his spiritual poverty. Abraham material abundance stood in stark contrast to his spiritual poverty. Compromise one's face, compromise one's face. Fear can tempt us to compromise our face at the cost of another person's suffering. At the cost of another person's suffering. Abraham sought a survivor at the cost of Sarai's suffering. Imperial society, imperial society, imperial society, imperial society, royal tyranny, royal tyranny, loyal tyranny, absolute monarch, absolute monarch, exercise of power, exercise of power, exercise of power, overwhelming, 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 power structure, power structure, power structure, power structure, surveyor, 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 people, power, powerless, powerless, trample upon, trample upon, trample upon, trample upon, violate, 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 concealed injustice, concealed injustice, concealed injustice, expose, 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 vindicate, 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 surveyor, 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 violate, 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 trample upon dignity, trample upon dignity, vindicate, 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 covenant people, 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 covenant faithfulness, covenant faithfulness, covenant faithfulness, covenant faithfulness, history of the redemption, redemption, history of redemption, history of redemption, unfolding history of redemption, unfolding history of redemption, unfolding history of redemption, total depravity, dramatic reversal of salvation, reversal of salvation, reversal of salvation, serene intervention, see the promise, see the promise, see the promise, see the promise, living temple, living temple, living temple, living temple, offspring of the serpent, offspring of the serpent, offspring of the serpent, offspring of the woman, offspring of the woman, offspring of the woman, typologically, typologically, foreshadow, foreshadow, the Messiah, the Messiah, the Messiah, the Messiah, the way of the cross, 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 a lamp light to slaughter. A lamb led to the slaughter. A lamb led to slaughter. Raised from the dead. Raised from the dead. Absolution. Absolution. Grant absolution. Grant absolution. Grant absolution. Grant absolution. Theological proposition. Theological proposition. God's sovereign intervention. God's sovereign intervention. God's sovereign intervention. God's sovereign intervention. God's covenant faithfulness. God's covenant faithfulness. God's covenant faithfulness. God's covenant faithfulness. The unfolding history of redemption. 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 Preserve. 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 God preserve the seed of promise. God preserve the seed of promise. Intervene. Intervene. God intervened when Iran could no longer protect Sarai. Transform. Transform. God can transform evil into an instrument of salvation. Restore. God restores the dignity of the oppressed. Vindicate. God vindicated his son through the resurrection. Expose. God will expose every concealed injustice. God wipe away one's tears. The Lord will wipe away the tears of his people. Remain faithful. God remains faithful to his covenant. Work on behalf of. God was working on Sarai's behalf. Carry out. God carries out his plan of redemption. Indescribable suffering. Indescribable suffering. Sarai's indescribable suffering. Painful silence. Painful silence. Silence the victim. Silence the victim. Silence the victim. Profound silence. Profound silence. Profound silence. Profound silence. Groaning. 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 Bewildering. 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 Surrounded on every side. Surrounded on every side. Surrounded on every side. Endure. 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 Wound. 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 Completely healed. Completely healed. Completely healed. Restore one's dignity. Restore one's dignity. Restore one's dignity. Behind that abundance lay the silent lament and shattered dignity of a woman. Behind the abundance lay the silent lament and shattered dignity of a woman. Behind it. Abraham's material abundance stood in stark contrast to his spiritual poverty. Abraham's material abundance stood in stark contrast to his spiritual poverty. Material abundance, spiritual poverty. When even the person closest to us fails to protect us, God himself begins to act. When even the person closest to us fails to protect us, God himself begins to act. God's sovereign intervention and covenant faithfulness remained the one and only absolute hope. Sovereign intervention, the one and only. True biblical blessing can never be obtained at the cost of another person's suffering. True biblical blessing can never be obtained at the cost of another person's suffering. Our painful silence constitutes the most powerful indictment of unbelief and selfishness. Unbelief and selfishness. God can transform even humanity, hideous evil, into instrument of His good work. Hideous evil, transforming into be an instrument of salvation. This does not justify human evil or granted absolution. Grant absolution. Grant absolution. Justify evil. Justify evil. Grant absolution. Grant absolution. Thrice suffering may be understood typologically as foreshadowing the suffering of Christ. Be understood typologically. Be understood typologically. Typologically. Foreshadow. Every concealed injustice will be exposed, and your wounds will be completely healed. Concealed. Concealed, be exposed. Be healed. Be healed. Be healed. Be healed. Material abundance. Spiritual poverty. Courage. Cowardice, courage, unbelief, faith, selfishness, self-sacrifice, concealed injustice, revealed justice, silence, testimony, operation, deliverance, shatter dignity, restore dignity, human failure, divine faithfulness, moral bankruptcy, moral integrity. To protect oneself and another person, to sacrifice another person for one's own survivor. To lose one's covenant identity. To lose one's covenant identity. To mistake worldly prosperity for divine blessing. To trust the unseen protector. To remain faithful in the midst of suffering. To restore the dignity of the oppressed, to preserve the covenant promise, to long for the Lord's smile.